this is an interview of Ringo, and this is on June 20th to 2013 in the mid-afternoon. Okay, so Ringo, I want to ask you if you'd be willing to sign a few consent forms.
Sure.
The first one of these is about the field school. Yeah, sorry. And what you need to know from this is that there's no inherent risk or benefit to participating in this. And you don't have confidentiality here because we're going to be publishing this.
Okay.
And if you do decide that you don't want to participate, you can do so at any time. It's voluntary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No problem. I'm going to write my real name here.
Okay.
Now put Ringo. Wednesday's the 20th. There you go.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. And then this one is just for pictures. So, I mean, the pictures, the scans that we're getting, as well as the audio.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you just write your name here.
I'll put Ringo here.
Okay.
There.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And then there's the back side as well.
Okay. Today's the date's 6/20.
20th. Yes. And then, thank you. And then, yes, that's all we need there. So now, if you don't mind, I'm gonna start asking you a couple questions.
Sure.
And let's see. So the first of which, I'm wondering if you could introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Michael White. I go by the nickname of Ringo. I got that nickname in high school. Lived here in Milwaukee most of my life and down in Florida for short parts of it, so it's been nice down there too. And I started hanging around the beach here back in the early 60s. I was down here before that, but only when I was a kid my parents would bring me down here. But now I've been actually since about 1961 coming down here on my own. And luckily I didn't get in too serious of trouble over the years. But I had mostly good times.
And so you said your parents used to bring you down here when you were a kid?
Yeah, real young, grade school.
Okay. And then what did they do as their profession?
Well, my mom worked in a restaurant back then and my dad worked at a factory, machine shop. Rexnord they call it now.
Did you come here did they take you here, what was the primary purpose of you as a family coming here?
Oh, we come down here just to be together as a family and see something new. When I was young, maybe 7 years old or maybe even younger than that, my parents brought me down here the first time. That was about in the 50s, 1955 or 56, somewhere in there.
Well, can you describe that experience a little more?
I enjoyed it a lot. It was fun. Except that I couldn't swim yet then, so I had to be careful not to get into deep water because I didn't know about waves. Now I think waves are fun, but back then unless they get about 7 or 8 feet or something, and there's a lot of junk in the water, I won't go in. But back then, a 2 foot wave was pretty high.
So then over the year, so then your parents kind of took you here as a leisure spot.
Yeah.
And and with your parents, did you come? You said you didn't really come fairly regularly.
No, not until I got in high school. They bring us down here maybe 2 or 3 times a year.
And then, so by us, you mean you have siblings?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got 2 sisters and a brother.
Okay. And what are they, older or younger?
Younger.
Okay. And then what are their names?
Well, my brother name's John. I got a sister, Kathy. She passed away not too long ago. My sister Donna's still alive. They got all kids and grandkids, all of them. I'm the leftover that didn't have any kids yet. I wish I would have, come to think of it, now that I see things. I really do.
Well, so are you? Do you talk to your grandkids?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I see my nieces, nephews, great nieces, and great nieces and nephews. There are plenty of them. When we have a family get together, our family's mixed, ethnically, so it's like the League of Nations. The only thing we're missing, I think we're missing Far Eastern, like Vietnamese or Chinese, but otherwise we're pretty mixed. Well, one of my nephews or nieces will take care of that end though.
So then, do you guys have family reunions often?
Yeah, 2 or 3 times a year.
And then where in the States is that?
Right in Milwaukee. Yeah, just about all of us pretty much stayed in the same area. Some moved away and came back. I guess a few of them did move away. I don't know if they'll ever come back. But they come back for Christmas usually. We meet at, right now we're meeting at my one niece and her husband. They got a really big house in Franklin with an in-ground swimming pool. So we've been having the past couple of years our family get-togethers there.
Yeah. So if you have a nice location.
Yeah, it's real good there. It's kind of close to Whitnall Park. It's kind of west of Whitnall Park area.
So your family is kind of scattered all over Milwaukee, kind of?
Yeah. Not too many of them stayed on the east side though, because of the parking and stuff around here. Those east side's too crowded with cars now. It wasn't like that 40 years ago.
So,
not like now.
Well, what was it like 40 years ago? The east side in general.
Well, there was always a edge to it because it's kind of like by the lake, by the main beach and near downtown. So it always had like an edge to it. It wasn't not a bad edge necessarily, but you could count on stuff happening over here. And most of it was good. Unfortunately, there were a few incidents that I can think of. Well, let's put it this way. I give young folks a lecture on not to take drugs. Let's put it that way. Because I know it can happen. I saw it for 50 years. Alcohol included in that.
Is that something you've seen?
I've seen it with my own eyes what it does. It's not good. But aside from that bad part, it's been mostly good. We always got to remember, life is like a bucket of yellow paint. You take one little teaspoon of some darker color paint and stir it in, it's going to make it all darker. You got to forget that part and keep the good parts in mind. But yeah, it really is. Especially for me, because sometimes I get a little down. But that doesn't happen that often where it's a real problem. So I know about the paint bucket thing.
Did you just make that up, or did somebody tell you?
I made that up.
And actually, I was wondering if you could tell me, when you're talking about yourself, if you could tell me a bit about your past and your occupation, your present occupation and what you've done in the past?
Well, right now, right now I'm getting my Social Security, but I've been working part-time. Sometimes I work down here at the beach helping them set up for the tournaments. And I got a job in Shorewood. It's just a part-time one where I cut the grass and paint and stuff. And then there's another guy who used to work for, he hasn't called me yet. But I got before that, in the 80s and 90s, I was working for different factories and things, different people. Yeah, I worked at they call it the Brady Corporation now, and Globe Union, and a couple different companies like the old Johnson's Cookie Factory. They call it Masterson Company now on 41st and National. There's a bunch of places like that. Usually what I do, I'd work during the winter for about maybe 7 months or so, or 8 months when I could get away with it. And then I'd take off in the spring and go traveling for a while and go to Florida. And luckily some of those jobs they'd hire me back because I usually did a good enough job for them. But in the factory jobs, when you got a skill they can use, they'll call you back. But nowadays those factory jobs are gone, so it'd be a little rougher on me if I tried to live that lifestyle now. Way rougher.
Well, and now you said you went to Florida in the spring.
Yeah, for a while usually.
Okay.
Sometimes a month or so.
And then you just, did you have family down there?
No, I go with people. There's people I know that live down there. I'd stay with them sometimes. I'd pay them rent though. I wouldn't try to freeload. They don't like freeloaders down there. Florida's not a place for freeloaders.
Oh yeah. Well, and so now I guess I'm wondering so Florida was kind of like your spring activity, and then you'd come back here for the summers?
Yeah. And I'd get another job in the fall, usually in August or September.
And
then for a while I was going to Daytona, then I started going to Fort Pierce and Vero Beach. A few other places too, like Miami and Orlando and Tampa. It was fun. I always liked the beach. Now I'm getting a little older, so I'm a little more cautious. I don't want to get skin cancer.
So, what kind of attraction has the idea of the beach, does it have for you now?
Well, now it's, right now I wouldn't call it too crowded for me, but usually I come down here in the winter and in the spring and in the fall. And in the summer I'm here a lot because there's a lot of people I know at the beach here in Milwaukee. And it's fun to see people I know, and like you folks that are interviewing me here, I meet new people down here, that's always fun. But sometimes when it gets really crowded down here, it gets too much for me. I've already gone down to Florida in the middle of summer. And boy, I'll tell you, you go to the beach there in July, you can walk like by Fort Pierce, you can walk for a couple miles. There won't be hardly anybody on the whole beach. You'll see maybe one person a half a mile away sometimes.
Wow, so then there's nobody down there.
Not on that beach doesn't have tourists. Miami will be crowded. But Vero Beach and Fort Pierce aren't tourist towns, so they don't even get crowded during spring break.
Well, then I guess that makes me wonder. Do you think what kind of people do you think come to Bradford Beach?
Most of them are locals. There's people from out of town. Fort Pierce is like that too, but because it's Florida, you're going to get a lot more tourists, even though it's not a tourist beach. And it's a good seashell beach because there's not a lot of people to pick them up. You go to Daytona or Miami, you'll be lucky to find any seashells unless there's a storm. But there, you just go after the high tide a lot of times. You find a lot of them. There's not enough people to pick them up yet. I kind of hope it stays that way.
So then, are you do you continue to go down to Florida? Or?
I haven't been there for a couple of years now. There's this girlfriend I met back in 1983. we're still together, but not as a couple. And she got hurt really bad about 4 years ago. She got hit by a car, and she's got like a traumatic brain injury. So there's another guy living with me and her in the house, and I can't just take off like that anymore. The last time I went to Florida was about 2.5 years ago. And I was kind of taking a chance doing that because I didn't want, that one guy, he shouldn't have been having to take care of her all by himself. But they did okay. I don't think I could do that again for a while though, because she's not getting any better. She got hurt really bad. Car hit her. Drunk driver. Yeah. Oh, excuse me.
Of course.
But we were pretty much together from 83 till 1995. And then she got schizophrenia, and I knew I couldn't just leave her, so we had a house. Me, her, and this other guy, we got a house together. And he sold his share to me because he had a physical problem, and he didn't want the hospital to get his share of the house, so he sold it to me for cash. Got it out of his hands. So her and I are still on the deed, so I can't just, take off. It'll be, I don't know if I'll be able to go to Florida again for a while. But it was fun when I could go.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm hearing you correctly, it sounds to me like you went to Florida as a place to go to the beach and relax. Now, would you say that what do you come to Bradford Beach for?
Oh, the same thing. Usually if I can get down here for at least 3 hours, that's plenty. I used to stay down here when I was younger. Sometimes I'd be down here for 10 hours at a time. There was all kinds of people I knew here, and this lakefront's pretty big. It runs like basically from downtown all the way to Kenwood Boulevard, so I'd be in the park here. And there's also somebody I know around here, like down by the Veterans Park area, and up in Lake Park, and here at Bradford and McKinley. There was a whole bunch of us. I started coming down here a lot, especially after 1966. And I kept meeting more and more people down here. We used to have people, they'd be down here all winter. They'd shovel off the tennis courts. And then down by Villa Terrace, there was a piece of the park there that was kind of sheltered, but it had a lot of sun. We'd go back there and shovel out our picnic tables in the middle of winter. It'd be January, we'd be down there shoveling the picnic tables out. We'd sit down there. It was out of the wind, below the bluff and in the sun, so you get out of that cold wind.
And so even then, even in the winter, you'd be socializing.
Yeah, down here. Yeah. It's changed though. I noticed as I got older, a lot of the people I used to hang around with are not around anymore for one reason or another, so it seems like every year I gotta make some different friends, although I could see 3 people down there right now I've known for at least 30 years. They've been around here. So luckily some of us are still left.
So then it sounds like to me that you're talking about a real community.
Yeah, we had our community. It's not been as through the whole season like it used to be in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So I noticed in the 90s it started slowing up. And then when Dick Bacon died, he was like they always call him the king of the beach. He died in 2000, and that kind of loosened up the crowd quite a bit because people congregate around him. The volleyball and everything all winter. All summer he played volleyball down here. There's still quite a few people down here. I see some more of them right now, as a matter of fact. They were down here for years and years. So at least during the summer somebody's still here. But they don't shovel the tennis courts off anymore. I kind of miss that. They only, those McKinley Park tennis courts, there used to only be 2 of them. They'd shovel them off. I remember in the 70s we had some really deep snow and they still shovel them. And it was cold. The lake froze over twice in the 70s. Yeah, it froze all the way across.
So then when you say, so I'm so sorry, like when you say you shovel off the tennis courts, do you mean that you actually play tennis on them?
No, it was these other people I know.
Okay.
I would just help Art and those people shovel out their picnic tables.
Would you ever play cards or?
Yeah, we did. We played chess, cards. You know those lawn darts? I think they don't make those anymore because somebody could get hurt with them. They look like a missile. They were real heavy. Howdy.
You interviewing him?
Yeah.
About here? The guy. He's the best guy to talk to.
Yeah, I'll be down there. I'll come down.
What's that?
I'll come down. We're down.
Yeah. I gotta go for a walk out there.
Okay. Yeah, see, there's quite a few people I know down here yet. I wish it was like it was back into the 90s, the early 90s, though. You'd be down here all winter. I like that.
So now you don't really come here in the winter then?
Oh, yeah. I still do, but it's kind of nice to have other people around. Like sometimes I'll go, there's some spots I can sit here when it's real sunny. There's snow on the ground. As long as it's not too windy or too cold, I can sit out here and read a book. There's spots. You just have to find them. Like up by the water tower there. There's a fountain up there. And during the winter, I put something down on the bench so I don't get my butt cold and I could sit there and read a book. And then there's some wooden benches like by the New St. Mary's Hospital. And up on top of the hill here along Wall Street, they got a wooden benches. Okay, Steve, take care. And I'll sit there by myself and read a book, but it was nice like 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, there'd be somebody down here all the time. So I didn't have to just sit there and read a book. Then there was this one guy. He was like the king of Bradford Beach, Dick Bacon. He used to put reflectors up down here and sunbathe in the middle of winter. They were like real shiny mylar or tin foil, and he'd make it like a parabolic arc, so it'd shoot the rays toward the middle, and then he'd sunbathe in there. And I gotta bring those pictures down for you. I'm gonna find some more of them. You gotta scan those if you can. I'll even give some so you could bring them back then. Dick Bacon was Bradford Beach, like the king of the beach from at least the 1950s. Because I remember when I was in grade school, my ma told me who he was.
Yeah.
He always wore a white swimming suit and he had a super dark suntan. Super, super dark. And he stuck out in the crowd. He was one of the nicest, most outgoing people you'd ever want to meet. He had some little quirks that people didn't understand, like he'd like to go to nude beaches and sunbathe nude and that, but so what? At least he wasn't out getting drunk hitting people with his car. That's worse.
Well, so it sounds like Dick Bacon actually spent a fair amount of time on the beach.
Oh yeah.
Sunning.
Way more than I ever did.
So then, what kind of things do you come to this beach for?
To talk to people mostly. If I'm in a really good mood, I'll start socializing with strangers. And the young ladies, most of these girls are young enough to be my grandkids, so usually unless they look really friendly or somebody introduces me to them, I just kind of look and keep going. I said, no, I better not. I don't want to, the old thing is, no fool like an old fool. I don't want to do something, say something stupid. So I just kind of look and go, I got a lot of great nieces and nephews in that age group, so they're pretty cool. But every now and then I meet really nice, there's a really nice young woman that's could be my grandkid. She helps us with the volleyball setups down here. She's real friendly. I always talk to her. She's tall, like about 8 inches taller than I am. She's way over 6 feet. She plays really good volleyball. She's a nice lady. I don't see her down here today though.
Well, I guess now that we've kind of talked about like what you come to the beach for,
Mm-hmm.
and what what you see. Could you talk like about the community that you have here?
Oh yeah, there's still some of it left, especially in the warm weather months. There's people using the tennis courts, except they don't shovel them off. And Art and those people I used to hang around by Villa Terrace, I don't know what happened to them. Most of them were way older than me. And then a group of us used to hang around up in Lake Park sometimes. And then the fountain, the water tower park, there was a little while I hung around up there in 1968, 69, 70. That got kind of out of hand though, because there was a lot of hippies up there, and most of them were really good people, but as anybody that knows anything about that crowd knows, some of them were a little bit radical, and there was a problem with that one. That's a whole different article there, but there was, anyway, that was gone. And then after that, there was a group of us, we used to get up there from the mid 70s through the 80s. We'd hang around up there. They were quieter crowd though, nothing like that. The crowd that was there in 69 and 70. We'd meet up there. There was maybe about 20 of us. We all knew each other. One guy would actually bring like one of those pianos. It was like a organ. You'd pump it with your feet and you'd play music up there. And then there was another guy. He'd bring a guitar up there. He couldn't play bongo drums up there because they're too noisy. It was like private property right across the street from that park, so you don't want to disturb them. But the guitar and the push pedal organ, that was nice. You could play that up there. I've heard people playing bagpipes in the park and everything there.
Gosh.
But bongo drums are okay if you're not at a residential area, because you could hear them things for 4 or 5 blocks.
So people played instruments up
Yeah,
there?
down here too.
Okay.
You know, on that point there, sometimes there'd be 6 or 8 people with conga drums over there, those big, tall ones. We'd be over there playing them, and you could, you know, at night when there's an inversion, you could hear them a half a mile away. Because it's kind of quiet down here. You can understand why you wouldn't want to play up by the water tower. Somebody'd call the cops. But we had quite a good time down here. I did have to be a little careful who I hung around with. I learned that the hard way. Because some of them people drank a little too much and other things. And, you know, when you're in a public park like this, you're always going to run into people that you'd rather not be around. And if you do hang around, you learn real quick not to, because it is a public place. It's like people sleeping under the bridge. The weather's not the problem there, it's other people. So you can sleep under the bridge as long as you got enough clothes and blankets. But if you're down there and the wrong person comes, that's the problem. A real big problem in the park.
So you see this, so kind of like, I mean, Bradford Beach is, I've heard that it's the county owns it.
Yeah.
And it is a park, right? So it is
it's a park.
Technically a park. Would you see that, like, in your mind, is Bradford Beach a park?
Yeah, like Fort Pierce, they got parks along the beach there. Miami, I think, is mostly private, but the beach itself is public. It's a park. It's public like this is.
So then, how do you see people using the land?
Oh, thank you.
Wait. Yeah, I have it on high actually, so it's okay. Okay, see you later. Okay. All right, sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay. It's definitely a park. Because see, if you look south there, almost all that land down there, almost all of it, not quite all of it, is public. And then you go down past that point by Cuddy all the way down to Oak Creek Parkway, which is in Grant Park. It's all parks.
So then, now, do you see, like, at this beach then, what kind of things do you see people doing here?
Most of them are having a good time, and they're having fun. They're not causing trouble. That's what I like. Because I've seen plenty of that over the years. I don't even talk about that too much.
Sure. Well, then, what kind of things do people do here to relax?
Well, they play volleyball, lay in the sun. a lot of people sit like here down here. They're socializing. Uh, then you have people. They come here and they got these bars down here now and they're open. So this is where you can go to smoke outside. You can smoke at the bar here because it's outside. If you smoke cigarettes. I don't because I thought those things were bad since I was 2 years old. But anyway, you got that with this. And then there's other concessions down here, like down by the marina. And if you belong to the yacht club, that's a concession. They got boats there you can rent, or if you own a boat, you can dock them there. I go all over this place, not just the beach. It's kind of like, I always joke about it, call it my turf, even though I don't own it. And I would say my turf goes from Bayside to South Milwaukee to Whitnall Park, through the county grounds, up through Tulsa, to downtown, and up into River Hills. That's my turf. But this is a part of it I use the most.
So then, I guess, yeah, so this really is like, as part of the county park system, this is obviously part of it.
Yeah.
But then Bradford Beach has it sounds like it has a certain special place in your heart.
Yeah, it did since I was a little kid.
So
It still does. I come down here in the middle of winter. I used to have third shift jobs. When I worked nights, I could come down here all year round. When I worked first shift, then I could just come on a weekend. Or second shift, then I'd come in the morning usually. But I usually had a second or third shift job, then I could come down here. That always worked for me. And I had a car for quite a while. I had one from about 1966 to about 1984. And then I decided, well, seeing the way I'm living, I might as well not have one. So I used a bicycle back in those days too, and I walked a lot. And I still use a bike and walk a lot now and take the county transit. That's what I do in Florida too. I go down there, I take the bus, take a bicycle, walk. That's how I got around down there unless I had a ride.
sure. So then, if you're kind of like going solo and taking your bike and taking the bus, how often would you say you come down to the beach currently?
During the winter, oh gosh, I don't necessarily come down on the beach in the middle of winter as much as I used to anymore. But I'd say I get down on the beach itself, unless it's real wet and sloppy, wet snow. At least once or twice a week I'll come down the hill. And in the summer, just about every day I feel like it's comfortable to come here. Like this year we had kind of a chilly spring, so I didn't come down here quite as much in April and May as I'd usually like to, but that's okay. I got other stuff to do.
Sure. And so then, I guess now that we've talked about that a bit, I'm wondering, and I kind of touched on this before, but what kind of meaning does this beach have for you?
Well, it's kind of like, I don't know, this beach and the ones I go to in Florida, I almost consider them like a temple or something, because you're by all this water. And then if you're here by yourself and there's a storm or something, man, I'll tell you, it's impressive. You get a feeling there's something bigger than I am running this universe, or any of us, you know. I was brought up Christian, so I don't want to get too much into a rap about religion or nothing, but I do believe there's a God running, you know, basically put the thing together, and it's too orderly just to be a mistake. That's all I can tell you. It's too orderly. Just the hard sciences, physics and chemistry, stuff like that. Those are really hard sciences. And to me, that just the way chemistry and things work, which I studied a little, but not that much. It's too organized just to be a mistake or an accident. So you could take 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom, you heat them up and you get H2O, water. Real simple. Probably happens everywhere in the universe like that.
Well, what they're saying about water on Mars. You never
Yeah.
probably.
Oh, they found a lot of it up. They took, they got those radio telescopes, and they can tell by the wavelengths of light that are coming out of these galaxies and stars, kind of what they're made out of by what they call emission and absorption lines in the spectrum. Physicists will know about that. Chemists. They could tell what they're made of, and they found evidence of literally way more water than we have on this Earth, just up there in space. It's in there among the gases between the stars. And now there's something going on now in astronomy that I always knew since I was a little kid. Those stars up there got planets around them. I knew that. I just automatically knew that since I was a little kid. I used to read a little science fiction back then too, so that kind of got my appetite for that. Because when I was in grade school and high school, I was interested in insects and plants and rocks. That's another reason I come down to the beach, like here, or when I go to Florida or somewhere. There's always something different to see here, like different kind of plants and animals. And over the years, I got pretty good at finding stuff you could just pick and eat without getting sick. So I'll go in the park sometimes and eat maple tree flowers or something. When they're blooming, they're good. And like basswood tree flowers, they make tea out of some of that stuff. Like chamomile, you can make tea out of those flowers. And they're edible. Some of you can't eat too much of at one time, but they're not going to make you sick if you eat a handful of them. Because some of those things are pretty strong, like chocolate or something. You don't want to eat too much of that.
Yeah, well, actually, now that you mention like the animals and the plants around here, I'm wondering if you can maybe describe the change that you've seen on this beach, like this specific area.
Well, I think it's better because they started those little sand dunes on it now. They got dune grass in here. It used to be just a lawn along Lincoln Memorial Drive and out on that point there on both ends. But now they actually, when they built those rain gardens, they put wildflowers in them. And a lot of them are still doing pretty good. And they never had that on here before, and that's a real good thing they did with this beach. They put those rain gardens down here, and that stops a lot of that sludge from running right off Lincoln Memorial Drive into the lake. Because this road here is pretty busy, and the storm sewers, when there's heavy rain, they back up. They used to flow right across the beach here, especially on the south end of the beach house. And now it goes through that rain garden first, and it's a lot better.
You've noticed the change?
Oh yeah.
How have you noticed it?
Well, you don't have that nasty gully running across from the south end. There used to be a gully kind of like where that third tiki hut is too. It run down from the road. And then there's some really big ones on the north end. It would run right across the beach. It looked like a sewer opening, literally. It had like a cover on it, but it just looked bad. Now the sewer opening's still there, but it's in all that plant material. You can't see them. It looks better. And then when it rains, you don't have water coming directly off Lincoln Memorial Drive going into the lake in a gully in the sand. It kind of soaks down and then goes into the lake, which is better for... The only time I ever see it go across the beach now is if we get like 2 or 3 inches of rain at one time. Then it'll run across. But this place, aside from that algae problem, it's way better than it was in the 60s.
In terms of...
Well, there's no more dead alewives washing up every spring. And
what are alewives?
They're little fish. They get about 5 inches long. And man, there'd be millions of them down here. They'd wash up. They got in through the St. Lawrence Seaway, and they started reproducing in the lakes, kind of like they're worried about those big carp that are in the Chicago River area. They got in this lake, and they reproduced like crazy, and there'd be piles of them like a foot deep along the beach sometimes, and oh, that stink. So what they did, they put coho salmon and trout and brown trout, and that got them down. You hardly see them at all. I saw some the other day in there, but they were small. They weren't real big. They were dead like they usually are this time of the year. After they spawn, they die and come on the shore. But they were small ones. They were maybe a couple, 2-3 inches long. They weren't like 5 or 6 inches. Oh man, those things were bad. Ooh.
So do do you have any memories of when you were younger, how you had like smelling them or?
Oh, we used to throw them at each other. We'd have dead fish fights down here. That was fun as long as they weren't too rotten. And then the lifeguards would yell.
So they had lifeguards even then?
Yeah, back in the 50s they had them.
Okay.
They got the same chairs too. The same kind of stands they had back in the 50s. It's like a little metal tower with a, and then it's got like the chair on it and the platform, and they even got red and white umbrellas yet. So things are a little different. Like they used to have these old wooden rowboats down here, but now they're plexiglass or fiberglass, not plexiglass, fiberglass composition, and they're lighter than those heavy wooden ones.
Well, that actually brings up an interesting point for me. Like, I'm wondering how many people actually go in the water.
Oh, a lot of when it's hot.
Okay.
This year it hasn't been that warm yet, but last year we had one of our, I don't know if it was the hottest summer, but I think 1988 was the hottest one we had. But people in there, so many of them, the lifeguards had some rescues when I was down here last year. Because some people go out there too far and they lose their, they don't realize it. It could even happen to me, as a matter of fact. I haven't had really bad trouble in the water. Even in Florida, I got pulled out in rip currents. But I kind of know what I'm doing, so I get out of them without any problem. The worst thing you can do is fight a rip current. You got to go out with it, then you float on your back, and then you go down the beach a little ways, and then you try to come in. Sometimes another one will pull you right back out. I remember one day I got pulled out 3 times in a row, and I'd get out there and I'd just float on my back, and then I finally got in. But the lifeguard, he didn't come out to get me down there by Vero Beach because he could see I knew what I was doing. Otherwise it would have been somebody else who would have got me out of there. Because I always stay near the guards there because there's sharks there. Here I'm not worried about sharks, but I kind of like to be where the people are when I come down here. In the middle of summer, there's a lot of biting flies down here when there's a west wind. And if you get in the middle of the crowd, they're not so bad. I'm serious. People always wonder why animals herd together. That's why. You ever see a big herd of zebra and wildebeest and that, or buffalo? That's why. That's part of the reason they herd together, plus for mutual protection. But down here, you get in the middle of a crowd, you're less likely to get bit.
Do you have any memories with the biting flies? Or?
Oh, yeah, last year. They drove me out of here a couple of times. I remember one day it was 104 in West Dallas. Guess where I went on my bicycle? They were biting too much down here. So I got on my bike, and then I came back here around 3:30 and I took a swim and then I went home. Because I think that was one of those days I came down here and I got bit as soon as I got down here, so I went inland. That Hank Aaron Trail goes all the way from 6th and Canal all the way to almost the zoo interchange right now, so I went over there. That day it was 104. I got by McCarty Park and then I turned around, came back. I cut southeast from 94th and whatever that street was there by the zoo interchange, and I cut southeast to McCarty Park, and then I came back on the Honey Creek Parkway and the Kinnikinnick Parkway, and I got back. I got regular routes between here and the far south side, so I know where to stay away from traffic on a bicycle. See, down here it's usually good riding a bike, but when it gets too crowded, like last summer it was too crowded to ride down here, and Lincoln Memorial's not safe to ride on, it's too narrow. So I'd go somewhere inland and out if I wanted to ride. Like the Hank Aaron Trail, when it's in the 90s out, you're not going to find too many people on there, because that goes up into West Dallas.
Well, actually, I'm kind of wondering if we can go back to something you were saying before about how you have a group of people that you know here in your community.
Yeah.
Now, can you describe like the demographic of those people?
Everything. Look down below there. See Chico, he's a Filipino. That other guy's from Hawaii, and there's a lot of really cool people down here. Some black folks. They play volleyball, and my family's real mixed too. So basically, what I see down here is kind of like my family. There's mostly white people down here now during the daytime. Years ago, it used to be more black folks in the evening, but since they fixed this beach up, there was trouble with people cruising down here and blocking the drive. And now you don't see the cruisers down here because of the sheriff. But this is a very mixed crowd down here as a general rule. Like lately, I noticed there's been quite a few more white people in the afternoon and the evening than there used to be. But there's still like on the weekends, it's real mixed here. I know quite a few of the people that come down here regular. It's not like it's all one race. It's like my family. It's mixed. There's Native American guys that come down here, and let's see. Oh gosh, a lot from all over. Milwaukee's more demographically mixed now than it was 60 years ago when I was a kid. There's more Hispanic people. I lived on the edge of the inner city when I was a kid, so I was kind of in the area there. So if people get along, that's all that counts.
Yeah. So then, this community you see as pretty inclusive then?
Yeah, basically, as long as people want to behave themselves and don't come down here and get drunk and break bottles on the beach and stuff like that, or try to raise particular hell, it's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, do you think anybody is really excluded?
There's certain people that kind of exclude themselves. They come here and they can see they can't get away with what they want to. Or if, like my lady friend, she got hurt really bad and she's got serious psychiatric problems now, they will come down here, but they need to be brought down so somebody can keep an eye so they don't wander off. They're not excluded really, but the people I know that actually excluded themselves, they were doing something that got the sheriff's attention. I used to hang around a pretty rough crowd back in the late 60s, so I know what it means. Some of those people I hung around with, I wouldn't even tell them some of the places I go. I was afraid they'd spoil it. You know where Clody Park is in Whitefish Bay?
No.
It's just north of Silver Spring. There's a lot of those people I wouldn't even tell about that place because they'd go down there and they'd start, back in the 70s, they'd start partying down there and getting high or drinking and leaving bottles and stuff. I wouldn't tell them about that place. I used to go there to get away from that. It's up in Whitefish Bay, and Doctor's Park, that's another place.
Well, actually, this kind of brings me to another thought that I have for you, and I'd like you, that maybe if you could respond to that the fact that you know so many places and you have your own trails and you know a lot of people at this beach and you know a lot of the places around Milwaukee.
Right.
How does that shape your identity, do you think?
Well, I'm basically Milwaukee person, but a lot of Florida mixed in. But basically a Milwaukee person. Florida's like my second home. I haven't found a better place to go yet. I like that. The only thing down there again, back in the early 70s when I first went to Daytona, it was a small town. Now it's like a big city. There's like, I don't know how many times more people are there now than since the early 70s. It's just got, the beaches are getting all built up. When I first went to Daytona, there's still a lot of wild land along A1A down toward Ponce Inlet and up toward what they call Ormond Beach, Ormond by the Sea. Now it's all built up. All built up. There's no open sand dunes left or nothing. Because A1A will run like right down, it runs out on the barrier islands. And Daytona Beach itself used to be part of A1A. And now it's just, they built up too much. That's sometimes the reason I'd wander off to Whitnall Park or somewhere else, it gets so crowded here, I'd have to get my head together, so I'd go like 10 or 15 miles or whatever. I'd go somewhere and just go around by myself and then come back here.
So so in the past few years, you've really seen this area take off.
Yeah, it's good. It's good as far as I'm concerned. There was some days it got a little too crowded down here for me, though. I gotta admit that.
Well, and those people, like, do you, I guess my next, probably the place that we're going to go from here is, I'm wondering what you think is at stake. Like, what if you had told those guys who maybe weren't so great where you hung out?
Oh, they'd go down there and use it they would have gone down there with beer and maybe other things, and then the cops would have came and there would have been trouble and broken bottles.
And so what effect do you think that would have had on the community there? And
Oh, they wouldn't like it. I know even down here, when they put the music on too loud here at the beach when they have events, there's some people that own, some of these houses got to be over $1 million up here behind the trees. They don't want to hear all that. I mean, they used to have live bands down by McKinley Park in the early 70s till sometime around maybe the late 70s, and it got too crazy there because it was like people would be bringing their own beer and bottles, and the whole park would be broken bottles and garbage. I started calling the place Pigpen Park after a while. I got so mad. I knew some of those people too, and I said, "What are you doing? You're messing." They'd actually burn the picnic tables up.
oh, wow.
Yeah, these kind of nice tables. Oh man, that's what I mean. That's sort of things I don't want to talk about too much.
Okay, sure.
Ugh. That's what I mean by ruin.
So then you think that this place is kind of risen from that ruin?
Yeah, in a lot of ways, yeah. It used to get pretty dicey down here. I mean, by those rocks there, I used to pick a lot of broken glass up over there all the time. I remember filling whole plastic shopping bags with broken bottles over there. And people would get cut down here too. Now, since the sheriff's over there all the time, it's been a little bit more pleasant to be down here later in the day and in the evening, but back 20 years ago, it wasn't so good to be down here real late.
Well, and then, now when did the sheriff come in?
After there was some gunplay down here back in the 90s, they started tightening up on it, and then they really tightened up on it in the early 2000s.
So then do you think that the sheriff coming here, really, what was the trigger to really start the...
People getting shot down here.
Okay.
Yeah, literally.
No, I mean, I guess, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't phrase that question very well. To get to the beach from where it was when people were getting shot and to today, what was the first thing that happened?
Well, the sheriff started coming down here and the police, and then they decided to do what they do now. They got that over there by that North Point parking lot there. They always park in there with that big van, especially when it's real busy. Like usually from sometime in May till later in the season, they'll have a van there. And then the rest of the time, they'll just have squads down here. And they need that, especially with the drinking down here. See, they got a permit for alcohol down here. And that's a real bar right there. That's a bar right there. And they never had that. I don't recall them really having a permit to serve alcohol on this particular area until they got these private vendors. People used to sneak it down here all the time. I mean, I used to too. I mean, I'm not going to lie about that, but I didn't smash the bottle when I got done. Oh boy, I picked up a lot of glass. You know, I used some of that glass for my artwork though, because it was, from the waves pounding it up. Or if it was a blue bottle or something, I'd get the glass and make artwork out of it. So it came in handy that way. But otherwise, I'd hate to see somebody get cut. I got cut down here more than once, so I know it can happen.
But you don't see that as a problem so much right now?
Not too much. It got, they got people down here that really go over the place well. Like back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and the 90s, the lifeguards would look around for the glass. And since the sheriff's been down here, there hasn't been so much broken glass on the beach. There is still some though, especially over by the rocks on the ends. But it's not like it was years ago where you'd find it all over the beach. And the lifeguards, you know, like, okay, on New Year's Day they got the polar bear dip, and people leave glass bottles laying after that on the snow. So what I'll do is I'll come down here throughout a couple weeks or so, depending how good or bad the weather is, and I'll pick them up and get them out of here. I'm not the only one that does that, but we try to keep them. If you leave them here all winter, somebody's going to break them. That's just the way people are.
So then you kind of through when you pick up that broken glass and everything, do you see yourself like? Why do you do that?
Because I know what's going to happen. It's happened to me and people I know. I've seen people hauled away in an ambulance because of broken glass here. By those rocks there, every summer some kid, or more than one, I'm not here to see it all, they run down there and there's a busted bottle in there, and they cut their foot real bad right by those rocks there. It's usually young kids, because they're slippery with the algae and they slip on a rock and then they cut their foot. And I remember one time some girl cut her foot really bad on the volleyball court, and an ambulance took her out of here. That was back in the 70s. And I wasn't here every time it happened, but I heard about it.
So then it's kind of like, do you think of it as kind of yourself being like a protector?
Yeah, oh definitely. Not only for everybody else, for myself too. Because whoever's down here the most is going to step on it. Like, see these guys here, they're down here a lot, and if they don't pick it up and I don't pick it up, who's going to get cut? The guy that's down here the first time or one of us. So yeah, protecting each other and protecting people. See, also, there's a lot of people, they used to come down here, and the place is such a mess one way or another, from one thing or another, they didn't want to come back again. Now there's families with little kids down here again. You know, years ago this place is so empty. When I wanted to change my swimsuit, I just wrap a towel around myself. Change? I won't do that no more down here. No way. It's not that anybody's going to see anything. It's just the idea of what I'm doing. Somebody gets the wrong idea. There's little kids here now. See, there's young kids if you look. And I don't want to give somebody the wrong idea. But I used to change all the time like that down here before it got fixed up.
Now that kind of like that makes me think like you see a lot more young kids
Oh,
here.
way more.
And then what is, I guess my question to you is, in those young kids, what, I mean, like if they get hurt, that's bad.
Yeah, it's real bad.
Like, what do you think, is there like an underlying reason that you want to make sure they have a good time?
Oh, of course. I don't want to see somebody get hurt. I got cut really bad a few times on my feet. See, this mark here, I slipped on the ice and glass, went right through my tennis shoe. In February, and a friend of mine took me up to St. Mary's. Yeah, that happened in the winter. I slipped down there by McKinley on the grass in that area I was telling you about where they burned the picnic table. That's right where it happened. I slipped on the grass and the ice, and the glass was in the dirt, and it cut my foot right through my shoe. So usually, you know, when I was younger, I just wear tennis shoes. I wasn't too worried about my feet getting wet because I was kind of tough back then. And in the winter, I'd wear tennis shoes because they didn't slip so easy. So 10 above zero, I'd still be wearing tennis shoes. Now I'm a little more cautious. I'm 66 now, so I should be more cautious. But yeah, that's all I had on. Luckily, I had 2 pairs of socks on. So I stuffed a bunch of snow inside my socks, and then the guy took me up by St. Mary's.
Sounds Sounds like an adventure.
Yeah, it was. It took a long time to heal, too.
Yeah.
You know, when it healed up, though, I went to Florida that year, and it wasn't healing because it was kind of cold up here yet. And as soon as I got down there, I hit that salt water and that sun, warm weather, that healed real quick. It wasn't healing real fast till I went down there. I had to put sunblock on it every day, though.
Well, and I guess my one of like starting to wrap this up here.
Sure.
What would happen to this place if you didn't pick up the bottles?
This
place.
Somebody.
Like, not just like I mean, and what would happen to the place, and what would happen to the atmosphere here?
Oh, it'd be a lot worse if a few of us didn't do that. They have regular beach cleanups here too. So, you know, like last year they had one, and most of the people wouldn't go way up on that end there where that rain garden is on the north end there. And I went in there, I filled up a whole bag. See, most of the people didn't realize what was up in there because they don't know the place. The wind would blow all the trash over there in that sand dune and it would get stuck, so I knew where to look. I knew nobody else was going to go up there, so I did it. I'm not perfect at keeping the place clean, but there's a lot of other people doing it now. Years ago, there was just a few of us. We just picked, and that wasn't enough because there'd be so much. You know, back in the 80s and the 90s, I used to, even in the 70s a little bit, I'd find money in that water all the time. Because, you know, when they used to keep these parking lots open late, people would party down here, and the lots were open till midnight or something like that, and they'd go in the water with all their clothes on. So I'd come down here and I'd be picking $20, $5 bills, singles. Every now and then I'd find a pager or somebody's ID in there, in the seaweed usually. Yeah, we'd find a lot of stuff. And I'd take if it was in the summer, I'd take that stuff and give it to the lifeguards. But, oh man, I never found it in the wallet though, it was always loose. I feel guilty if I took a wallet and had somebody's ID and money in it. That kind of bothers me. I found stuff like that already. You know what I do? I get it. I usually take it to a store or something and give it to the clerk because I don't want to be carrying somebody's wallet around. That looks really bad. I said, here, I found this. It's got stuff in it, and I don't want it in my possession, so I take it to Walgreens or wherever I am, and then they get it back to the hopefully nobody takes the money out of it. I just hate that when I remember one day somebody stole a backpack up here by Summit, and they threw it in the lake, and I was in the water looking for money, and I find this whole backpack in the water with all kinds of personal stuff in it. So I found a number and I called it, and the people came down and got it. But there was all kinds of stuff in there, personal stuff. No money, just stuff that you wouldn't want to lose. So somebody stole it. I heard the people told me they stole it out of their car. They must have stole it up there by Summit above the tennis courts up there. Came down to the beach, went through it, just threw it in the lake. That was not good.
Well, yeah. Now, I'm wondering if you have any kind of now this is kind of going to be my final thing. Like,
okay.
If you feel I've left anything out in as I've been asking you questions or as you've been talking about the beach, or whether you'd be able to give me like a story that would really define the character and the nature of this place.
Well, it's part of nature, definitely. I mean, if you're down here all around, oh, yeah, it's like you come down here, you can watch the weather change. This lake creates its own weather because it's so big. Now, here's a good story. One day I was down here in March, back in the 80s, and it was in the 70s. And I look up there and I see a cloud rolling down. I go, oh no. It immediately dropped from the low 70s into the 30s. And the wind gusted 40 miles an hour. And people were down here drinking, and they had bottles up here, and the wind blew them all off of here, and it just rained down broken bottles and cans. Because we had 3 days in a row, it got around 70 in March. Yeah, that's the weather change. And then later that evening it was snowing. Yeah, I remember that one.
So people were just up here drinking, and
Yeah.
they had their bottles blown off.
Yeah, it blew them all down there. I don't know how, it must have been about 15 or so bottles rolled off of here and down on the cement. The wind came this way and it pushed them off that end. It was just like a southwest wind, maybe about 20 or 25 miles an hour coming this way. And then when it shifted to northeast, it was blowing over 40. It was one of those fronts that comes down from Canada. It'll come right down this lake because there's nothing to stop it. And the lake's only in March. It's usually still in the low to mid 30s, the beginning part of March. So if the wind comes off there and it's cloudy, it's going to be in the mid 30s. It really blew. Boy, that was something. It looked like a sandstorm. I've seen stuff like that happen, but that was a really good one. Because it dropped from 70 down into the 30s. People, they always think it's only 10 degrees cooler down here than it is inland. No. I've seen 40 degrees between here and the west side. In March, you'll get a day where it's in the 70s or even low 80s in March, and down here it'll be in the upper 30s or the low 40s. That's because that water's still in the mid 30s in March. That doesn't usually happen. It's usually March and early April when something like that happens. That's usually when you'll see it'll be maybe 42 and foggy here and 82 inland. Yeah, it's a change. People don't know that this thing generates its own weather. It actually causes thunderstorms sometimes. Because like, in August, the water's cooler than the air inland. It'll be maybe in the low 70s down here. And that lake breeze will push up that humid air. And then inland, like by West Dallas and Miller Park, you'll get a thunderstorm. And over here, it'll not be raining. It's just from that lake breeze. And then in the winter, this thing causes snow to be stronger here. It'll enhance the snowfall, depending on the wind direction. Or sometimes it won't snow here at all, and you go to Mayfair and there's a foot of snow on the ground. That happened a few years ago. Because this water's 39, 40 in November, early December. So the wind will come off there, it'll melt the snow here. But you go west, it gets deeper and deeper. Nothing here, but inland there would be a foot of it.
I remember that actually, driving to the lakefront.
That's what it is.
Well, Ringo, I really thank you for your time. I think
Sure.
this recorder is pretty much out of memory right now.
Okay, you better.
Yeah, stop the interview. But I really appreciate your time. And
Thank you.
yeah, and on this beautiful day for coming out here and just talking, instead of talking to other people, I guess. Or,
That's okay.
okay.
I like that. You're nice to meet.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you.
Very beautiful young lady, too. So.
Thank you. Hey, well, if I ever come down to the beach again, you don't have to feel awkward talking to me.
Oh, well, it's just, us older guys, sometimes they see a guy my age hustling around a 22 or 20, even a 35-year-old.
That's a little weird.
Yeah, it is. Well, my girlfriend, Kristen, who I'm still staying with, there's 17 and a half years between us.
Mm-hmm.
But we were okay. She was 18 and I was 36 when I
Oh, really?
back in 1983. Now she's going to be 49 and I'm 66.
Oh.
So we're still like, but we were item for, let's see, 83 to 95. It's 12 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Then she got that breakdown.
Mm.
Yeah, we were pretty close. We never got married because she didn't want that. She never wanted to have kids.
Mm.
But we were close.
That's really nice.
I don't recommend people. There's just something not so good about not getting married. mean,
Not getting married?
not getting married. People should, I think they should get married. That's
Okay.
my feeling.
Okay.
Really, I mean, I got older now, so back when I was in my 30s, I was a little looser in my thinking, but now, I don't know. It's a lucky thing, see, if she would have had kids or something and we wouldn't have stuck together, oh man, that's bad, because you see that so often nowadays. I remember even in the 60s, people were doing that. They were living together, and then the lady'd get pregnant, and then, well, you know the story. It's a big soap opera.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not good when kids don't have a dad. I know that. I got old-fashioned, I guess. You know what's funny? Even when I hung around with that crowd in the late 60s, I never, ever got involved like that. I knew better, because there was something about, unless you're going to make the relationship stick together. They used to have all that free love stuff. There's still people around that think that's okay, and I just don't. I just don't. That's why you got all this kind of HIV going around us. You know what? you never heard of hepatitis C and all that stuff back then, and that genital herpes and stuff. I think a lot of that got brought over here. You know, and they had people from this country go to different parts of the world. They do that